Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. On a warm Friday afternoon in June, Silas Trenholm drove nearly 3 hours from Charlotte to his family cabin nestled by a shimmering lake. His old pickup truck was packed with fishing gear, a cooler filled with food, and a battered binder of documents that he carried everywhere. This cabin wasn't just a weekend retreat. It was a sanctuary where he felt his grandfather's presence most strongly. As he parked on the gravel path, Silas took a deep breath, savoring the fresh scent of pine and water. The cabin, though weathered and modest, was perfect in his eyes. It was a place of roots, memories, and peace. He stepped out, feeling the familiar ground beneath his boots, and pulled out his fishing rod, ready to escape the pressures of his demanding job. However, as he unloaded his gear, a sharp voice interrupted his tranquility. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" Silas turned to see a woman striding toward him, her posture rigid and her sunglasses reflecting the sun like a shield. She wore a tailored blouse and carried a clipboard, exuding authority. "Afternoon, can I help you with something?" Silas asked, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Yes, you can explain why you're unloading things at this property. Are you renting it?" "We have strict rules about short-term stays here," she replied, crossing her arms defiantly. "Renting?" "Ma'am, this is my cabin," Silas said, tilting his head in confusion. "That's not possible. This area falls under the jurisdiction of the Lakeview Homeowners Association, and I don't recall approving anyone by your name," she retorted, her tone dismissive. Silas felt a storm brewing inside him. "My name is Silas Trenholm. My family has owned this place for generations. I don't make mistakes about property in this community. I'm Marjorie Kincaid, president of the association. If you don't have documentation showing you belong here, you'll need to leave immediately," she declared, her glare unwavering. Silas rubbed the back of his neck, sensing the confrontation escalating. "I think you're a little out of line, Mrs. Kincaid. You don't know who you're talking to." Her eyes narrowed. "Are you renting this place or squatting? Because either way, you're in violation of our community standards." Silas chuckled dryly. "Squatting? I've been coming to this cabin since I was a boy. My father brought me here before you even thought about HOA bylaws. You're standing on my land right now." Marjorie stepped closer, her heels crunching against the gravel. "No, you're mistaken. All the lakefront property around here is under the authority of the Lakeview Association. We've had issues with people sneaking in, renting out cabins, throwing parties. I'm not about to let some stranger set a precedent." Silas felt his patience thinning, but remained calm. "I assure you, this cabin is mine, and so is the land around it." Her laugh was sharp, like a gavel hitting a desk. "You expect me to believe that one man owns all of this?" "Yes," Silas replied, meeting her stare. "I do." The silence between them was thick, heavy with tension. A few neighbors began to gather, drawn by the commotion. Marjorie, sensing the crowd, raised her voice. "This is why we have rules, to keep outsiders from squatting on our property. If we let one slip through, what happens next? More people sneaking in, ignoring regulations, lowering property values?" Silas interrupted, his voice steady. "Lady, I've been fishing this lake since I was tall enough to hold a rod. My grandfather cleared this land with his own hands. You're standing in front of the man who owns more ground here than anyone else alive." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Marjorie's face flushed with anger. "That's a lie. No one man owns this much." Silas raised an eyebrow. "You want proof? When the deputies get here, I'll show them what I've got. But let me warn you, Mrs. Kincaid, when you find out the truth, it's not going to be me standing here embarrassed." Marjorie stepped closer, her voice rising. "Don't you dare threaten me. I know people like you, men who think they can bend rules to fit themselves." Silas remained unfazed. "I don't need loopholes. I've got signed deeds stamped by the county. You want to talk order? Order is when people respect the truth, not when they bully others because they don't like what they hear." The crowd began to shift, some neighbors whispering among themselves. Marjorie, sensing her authority waning, turned to the gathering. "You all know we have rules. You'll thank me later when this man is gone." But the neighbors didn't look convinced. One man called out, "Seems to me the only one tearing the community apart is standing right there with the clipboard." Laughter rippled through the crowd, and Silas felt a flicker of hope. Marjorie's face turned crimson as she realized she was losing control. "You can't just walk away from this," she shouted, desperation creeping into her voice. The sound of sirens approached, and two sheriff's cruisers rolled up the gravel path. The deputy stepped out, scanning the situation. "What seems to be the issue here?" one asked. Marjorie immediately marched toward them. "This man is trespassing on private property. He refuses to leave." Silas remained calm. "Afternoon, officers. My name's Silas Trenholm. This is my cabin, and I have documentation proving not just this property, but the land around it belongs to me." The deputies exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from casual to cautious. "Do you have identification and documents to back up your claim?" one asked. "Sure do," Silas replied, turning to retrieve his binder from the cabin. He returned, placing it on the porch rail and flipping it open. The sound of paper rustling filled the air. Marjorie scoffed. He could have printed anything off the internet. Silas slid one deed toward the deputy, pointing to the official seal. "You can call and confirm it right now. I've got dozens more just like it." The deputy leaned in, examining the document. "Dispatch! Need a quick check on property records for a Silas Trenholm. Lakeside parcel. Recorded May 12, 2008. The air grew heavier as the crowd held its breath. The deputy's radio crackled to life. "Copy that. Records show property at Lakeside parcel is listed under Silas Trenholm. Multiple adjoining parcels also under his name. Confirmed." The crowd buzzed with low chatter, disbelief washing over them. Marjorie's face flushed with anger and humiliation. "No, that can't be right. He's lying." The deputy raised a hand. "Ma'am, the records are clear. Mr. Trenholm owns this cabin and a good deal more land besides. There's no trespass here." Marjorie's grip on her clipboard tightened. "This community has rules. He's not above those." Silas lifted his binder again. "Actually, I am. Every road you drive, every path you jog, every dock you fish from, it's all on land that I own. Your association has no authority over me." Gasps rippled through the group. Marjorie's voice climbed higher, teetering on the edge of panic. "You can't let one man control everything. Officers, do something." One of the deputies spoke firmly. "Ma'am, that's enough. He hasn't broken any laws. You made the call. We came and verified the property records. Unless you have evidence of a crime, this matter's resolved." Marjorie stared at them in disbelief, her authority crumbling. "This is harassment. He's harassing me." Silas chuckled softly. "Lady, I've said less than 10 sentences since you walked to my drive. The only person doing the harassing here is the one shouting at me in front of a crowd." The neighbors chuckled, and even the deputies exchanged glances, amusement flickering in their eyes. Marjorie spun toward the crowd, desperation creeping into her voice. "Can't you all see? If we let him claim all this power, he'll ruin everything we built." But the crowd was no longer on her side. One man spoke up. "Seems to me the only one tearing the community apart is standing right there with a clipboard." Laughter erupted, and Marjorie's face turned crimson. The deputies began to step back toward their cruisers, satisfied the situation had been resolved. "Am I free to go about my day now?" Silas asked, a hint of a smile on his face. "I was hoping to get some fishing in before dark." The deputy nodded. "You're clear, Mr. Trenholm. Sorry for the trouble. You're well within your rights to be here." Silas nodded in thanks and turned to walk back into his cabin, leaving Marjorie standing there, humiliated and defeated. The crowd began to disperse, whispers of disbelief and laughter echoing the AI art as Silas settled back into his cabin. He felt a sense of closure. He hadn't sought this fight, but the truth had a way of forcing itself into the open. The lake remained steady, a reminder that sometimes standing firm in the face of adversity was the most powerful statement of all. But as the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the lake, Silas sensed that this confrontation was far from over. Marjorie Kincaid, with her pride wounded and her authority challenged, was not the type to back down easily. He could see the fire in her eyes as she turned the crowd, her voice rising above the murmurs. "This isn't over," she shouted, her tone filled with defiance. "You all know the rules. If we let him get away with this, what's next? He'll think he can do whatever he wants." The crowd hesitated, glancing between Silas and Marjorie. Silas felt the tension in the air shift, and he knew that the real battle was just beginning. Marjorie's determination was palpable, and as she rallied the neighbors, Silas realized he would have to prepare for the storm that was brewing. He had the deeds, the history, and the truth on his side, but Marjorie had the community's fear of change and the power of her position as the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon. Silas took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. He knew that standing his ground would require more than just documents. It would take courage, patience, and perhaps a bit of strategy. And with that thought, he stepped back into his cabin, ready to face whatever challenge Marjorie Kincaid would throw his way next. The battle for the heart of the community had only just begun. Do you want to know the fate of the heroes? Please post part 2. Subscribe to the channel and continue watching. Your opinion and support are important to me. Leave it in the comments. Thank you.